Hi everyone, this is Haley from Cruise Blog, and today we're going to be talking about tourist traps to avoid on your next cruise. Let's get started. When planning your cruise, you want to make sure you get the most out of your experience. Though you'll likely be visiting some touristy areas, especially if you're sailing to the Bahamas and Caribbean, there are ways to ensure that you don't get ripped off. Typically, tourist traps are a waste of time and money. They aren't exclusive to the Bahamas either. There are plenty to be found all over the world, from the bustling streets of New York City to the crowded floating markets in Thailand. Here are some tourist traps you should avoid on cruises, and how to make sure that you don't get roped into any at all. First up, chain restaurants. One of the best ways to experience a local culture is through the cuisine. In Italy, for instance, you won't want to stop in the McDonald's when you're just steps away from fresh pizza and pasta. In the Bahamas and Caribbean, there are plenty of bars and restaurants to avoid, namely those closest to the cruise pier. Not only is the food far from authentic, but the drinks are often way overpriced. Places like Señor Frog's and Margaritaville lure cruise passengers in, especially those looking to party with their music and decor. Because they're so well known, you won't find any amazing deals here. A little bit of research will go a long way, not only in saving your wallet from perhaps one of the most expensive meals of your trip, but also in avoiding disappointment. Rather than settle on the first restaurant you see, scour the internet for popular local dishes. From there, you can research which restaurants nearby are known for their authenticity and quality. Next up, spa treatments. Unlike on land, cruise ships know that there's no competition for services like spa treatments. Those who want a massage or facial while on board have no choice but to pay the cruise line's prices, which tend to be significantly higher than they might pay for similar services back home on land. Rather than subject yourself to the most overpriced 15 minutes of your life, wait until you're in port to see if you can find cheaper options. If, for instance, you're sailing to Cozumel, Mexico, and are planning on spending the day at one of the island's many beach clubs, you'll likely be able to tack on a massage for a fraction of the cost that you would on board. A 60-minute massage at Mr. Sancho's is $100, whereas the cost of one on board can be upwards of $200. Alternatively, look for port day specials while on board your cruise. While you won't be able to spend the entire day ashore, you may be able to score an onboard treatment for less than on a sea day. Next up, generic souvenir shops. Shops located close to the cruise pier tend to be more expensive than those a bit farther away. Don't settle on the first souvenir that you see. Instead, take some time to browse the different shops and compare prices. You'll also want to watch out for low-quality goods that are marketed as local specialties. When one of our writers visited Half Moon Cay, they were a bit taken back when browsing the stores, as one t-shirt was as expensive as $40. Additionally, our writers recommend bringing more sunscreen than you think you'll need, as you will pay a premium for it on board or on shore. At Half Moon Cay, for instance, a single bottle of sunscreen is $27. They can hike up the prices of essentials like sunscreen because they know that if you're desperate, you do not have any other option. Next up, overpriced and overhyped excursions. Typically, you'll pay a premium for excursions to visit popular attractions like Atlantis or Dunes River Falls. According to Carnival's website, a day pass to Atlantis starts at $225 for adults and $130 for children, meaning that a family of four could easily spend over $700 on a single tour. While visiting Atlantis may be a bucket list activity for some, there are, in our opinion, better ways to spend that kind of cash. Plus, Nassau is home to plenty of beautiful beaches that you can visit for far less. If you choose to do an excursion, like Dunes River Falls, Stingray City, the Virgin Gorda Baths, Mako Beach, or Atlantis, you want to manage your expectations wisely. In addition to being pricier than other options, they'll also be pretty crowded as well. Next up, Diamonds International. Diamonds International is like the Kay Jewelers of the Caribbean. You'll find them just about everywhere. Though many travelers think that purchasing jewelry in the Caribbean is affordable, it's typically a tourist trap. On board, you will notice that your cruise line is constantly advertising the store in port materials. You can even attend seminars on some lines about shopping in the port. To get you inside, they may offer a free charm as a marketing tactic. Next up, ports designed specifically to cater to cruise ship passengers. Costa Maya is a popular stop on Western Caribbean itineraries. The port, however, was designed to keep passengers close with amenities like bars, a pool, an aviary, shops, and more. Essentially, you could spend your entire day in Mexico just steps from the ship. If you didn't do any research, you might not know about the charming town of Mahaul. That's just a short taxi ride away. Amber Cove is similar. With a pool, restaurant, and shops, some passengers may feel as though they don't need to leave the port. It's impossible, however, to get an authentic experience by drinking cocktails all day at the swim-up bar. While you can certainly take advantage of these amenities, you should also prioritize exploring local attractions. There are some strategies to make sure that you do not fall victim to a tourist trap, starting with dedicating time to researching each port ahead of time. If you're eyeing a specific tour, it doesn't hurt to see if you can find reviews from previous customers. While the description may sound appealing, the offerings may not fully match what's advertised, and reviews are the best way to figure out whether the tour is a scam or not. Though booking excursions through your cruise line is smart to ensure that you aren't left behind, independent operators may have a more diverse selection of tours that are cheaper. Recently, when one of our riders was in Civitavecchia, for instance, they weren't pleased with the tours to Rome that were offered by MSC Cruises. Instead, they ventured over to Get Your Guide and found a small group excursion that visited more highlights for much less. They returned to the ship feeling pleased with their decision and were able to see more of Rome and didn't have to deal with waiting on a large tour all day. If you find yourself stuck, do not be afraid to ask locals for advice. They may have an excellent suggestion for lunch, saving you from wandering into an inauthentic and overpriced joint. Additionally, someone who is local to the area will likely know some of the lesser-known attractions, such as a museum or a small beach that won't be as crowded. Those who have their hearts set on visiting a popular attraction should consider cruising during the shoulder season, when there is fewer land-based tourists. And that concludes our video on tourist traps to avoid on your next cruise. We sincerely hope that you enjoyed watching our video and that you'll stay tuned for further content from Cruise Blog. We can't wait to see you soon. Happy sailing!